All right, welcome back everyone to Collegiate Karting League. We are in the D5 finals tonight. We have University of Michigan Wolverines and versus Virginia Tech Hokies. This is game two of their best of three. We did see game one earlier in the week where University of Michigan did break Virginia Tech's undefeated streak that they've held this entire season. So we will have to see what happens as this match continues.
Oh yeah, and this is looking to be a great matchup overall. Yes, Virginia Tech was undefeated up until last week, but I noted this down when I looked at when I did the prep. When I was looking at the analysis here, Michigan Wolverines or the AAA Wolverines are kind of like a bad matchup here for Virginia Tech in the sense that if we look at the lineups really quickly, you see that all of AAA Wolverines they're a deep group. It's you saw it last week in spades where they basically controlled all of the mid spots here. Yes, Virginia Tech has some insane players on their end. You got Steamy, you got Vub, Aiden had a great game as well last week, but there's something really special about these Wolverines where they're able to just control the mid pack here, really dominate on that end. And I'm thinking it's going to be a really tight matchup here between these two teams. Winner of this set, we have game 2 and 3 here tonight. 3 only if needed. But winner of this goes on to play Georgia Tech in D5 finals. This should be an absolute classic, I think.
Yeah,
here.
definitely. It's also probably worth mentioning, when we watched game one earlier this week, it was an 86-point difference in that war. It was a very, very close war all the way until the very end. So this is going to be a very interesting war to watch because all those tracks that they played in game one, they can't play again. And so there may be some strategy there. Maybe Virginia Tech was just looking to get rid of some of their weaker tracks in game one so they can play game 2 and 3 and just, and dominate like we've seen them dominate throughout the season. But there's also that counterplay of maybe U of M Wolverines. Maybe they were picking some tracks that weren't their best tracks. We'll have to see what happens in this game too. It's going to be, I think, the most important.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think game 2 is definitely the most important, just straight up here. And I'm also really looking into game 2. One thing, you talk about the tracks and Virginia Tech, they kept their best track here. Cheap Cheap Beach is still on the table for them. That is absolutely massive as we go into the rest of the set here. Factor, your trump card basically is going to be critical for them as we go into this matchup. I'm so excited. We look at the lineups here. I think it's the same group here from Michigan from what we had last week. Meanwhile, the Hokies do have at least one switch here. Potato is making their playoff debut, it looks like. And I know in game 3, if they get to that point, they are going to see another swap. But overall, I think it's really just going to come down to who plays better because both these lineups are actually pretty even.
Yeah, this is a very even lineup. I mean, we even saw that in game one. These were teams that were going neck and neck the whole time, and it really just came down to who could control that mid pack better. Because we did see, we saw both teams take their top spots a fair share of times, but it never really got to a runaway until the very end.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be a tight battle, in that aspect there. I really don't want to see any team really run away because I think it's gonna be much better as both the spectator experience as well as for the players here, where you do get to see this close matchup because both these teams definitely have a strong shot to win it all. Virginia Tech, undefeated in the regular season, historically making deep playoff runs throughout their entire history here in CKL. Michigan Wolverines, you see this is a strong foundational group here, already has their top team in Division 1, and they're looking to get a banner of their own here. Really excited to see what we got, and I know we're going to be getting into the matchup fairly soon, so should be great matchup here. I'm so insanely intrigued to see what we're going to be doing as we eventually start off this first race.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens too, because like I said, there's a lot of strategy here that I think really comes into play when you go to this game 2 and this game 3. Because like we mentioned already, there's already 12 tracks that neither of these teams can play, and they have to be aware of that. They can't go repick any tracks that we saw during game 1. And that really adds, I think, another layer of depth to this game because you can have, a team that's super strong, game 1, but maybe they fall off a little bit, on game 2. Maybe there's some tracks that gets played that they just haven't practiced a whole lot. And then it really just comes down to which team has more depth.
Yeah, and if it comes down to that depth, that is where the Wolverines, the University of Michigan, historically has thrived in. 4 of their top 6 is in the higher parts of the individual rankings from the regular season. They had 4 people last game score over 90 points, and that is not easy to do, especially against a team like Virginia Tech, but their team is just so deep. Any player can really pop off at any point. It's kind of the opposite of Virginia Tech, who has players like Steamy and Vub, who are two of the players who really are powerhouses in the scoring department. Then you also have players like Aiden who will pop off as well when needed, and they did that last time too. I think it's gonna come down to what you mentioned earlier, the track picks. You saw the 12 tracks are already burned off now, and it's gonna be interesting seeing both of these teams kind of have to rely on different options. Michigan is going to be the host here in Game 2. You see that Super Nintendo Rainbow Road has made its way onto the screen. Meanwhile, Koopa Cape is the option here for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and these are definitely some interesting track picks here. I mean, SNES Rainbow Road definitely makes sense here for U of M here. You know, starting in that top position, likely top 6 here. You want a super strong runner that you're able to just hold your spots on and just run away with this. And then on the other side for Virginia Tech, you know, Koopa Cape is such a strong track for you to get, you know, those shrooms and those just early, like, really solid, you know, items that allow you to make these crazy comebacks, because especially with Koopa Cape only having, you know, one item set, it can be really strong getting like even just a triple mushroom off rip. And it looks like we are going to be going to SNES Rainbow Road here.
Yeah, you definitely want to be seeing Snespo if you are the Wolverines or a fan here of Michigan. Strong runner, as you mentioned, and you see a lot of blue up in those top spots. Perfect situation for Michigan here. One game away from punching their ticket into Division 5 finals. You're going to be taking a look at Zeronic's POV and see how she's able to navigate this with the rest of Michigan as they approach this first set, trying to get in, really just establish this front running presence here. Steamy in 5, trying to avoid getting trailed out, but unfortunately getting hit out early and already going into 11th place.
Yeah, that early race trail is going to be so devastating here for Virginia Tech here, because it's really hard to recover on tracks like Cespo. There's really no shortcuts. You know, there's the one middle cut here, which I'm not even sure if it's that much faster, and you need to use a mushroom in order to even clear it. So you're, you know, investing a lot to gain maybe a spot or two. So having these lower spots, you know, early on in the race is really rough here for Virginia Tech. But we are seeing U of M also starting to kind of fall behind a little bit. I believe U of M is having someone bag all the way in the back. There's a blue Birdo on the minimap, kind of stuck. Not sure if there was... Okay, they were bagging for the star. Makes sense. There's a lot of dodges coming into play here. This is also a track where I think shocks can really do a lot here. And we are seeing Steamy absolutely sniping the U of M players behind them as they go into this turn. About to enter lap 3. We are seeing, I believe, a relatively strong front presence here from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is in a 1-3-4 situation. Really strong considering this was Michigan's track pick. We are waiting to see if there is going to be that shot. It is very devastating here on this track. You're seeing Zerana. She's going to be able to get hit out at this point here, having to burn this shroom, trying to just salvage as many spots as they can, because look at this. Virginia Tech, once again, still maintaining those tops. Blue Shell is going to come out. It's a fight up in that top spot to see who's going to be able to get first, but it still looks like a lot of VT is going to be able to cross the line early, but a lot of Michigan is also kind of mix up the spots. Should be actually quite a change from what we've been seeing. Look back and forth, at least on the top of the mini map. 1-4-5 suddenly for Michigan. 2-3-6-7 for Virginia Tech. Relatively like evenish race, it feels like.
Yeah, that feels like a pretty even race. You know, getting that 2-3 on the side of Virginia Tech, that's definitely going to help stop the bleeding a little bit if U of M does get the positive. And they do. They are up by 4 points. So getting that 2-3 was really crucial here for Virginia Tech. You know, really stop that bleeding, you know, keep this close just from the start. And it looks like we are seeing a Cheap Beach pick, and I believe a random pick in Sunshine Airport. So these are definitely some track picks that make a lot of sense. And I think both teams have a very, very strong, like they figured out their game plan already.
Yes. Yeah, and you're looking at this from like Virginia Tech's perspective. Only a -4 on SNESPO, considering Michigan had like top 6 going into that. That's amazing for that. We are going into random Mario Kart Stadium. I didn't have that on my
Oh,
bingo card going into this one, and it's such a pivot, especially because this is Virginia Tech's pick technically. But it's unfortunate they weren't able to go into Cheap Beach, and instead we're going into Mario Kart Stadium. Reset bagger in a way here. A track kind of defined by the motion glider on lap 3, especially. Shrooms are just so powerful on this track, and you see a lot of players will tend to play it from the back, but you can kind of run MKS to a certain point, as it does look like a lot of players are just fighting to get into those top spots running. VT, Vuv, and Steamy have already broken their way up into top 2, and you can snake your way up into these top spots. And there's definitely a few ways you can capitalize off a track pick that wasn't even intentional.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Bub and Steamy are making the right choice here to just front run off rip because they started in 2-3. They're not going to have any coins. So it makes a lot of sense for both of them to just kind of front run here and try to take all the coins. We do see Zoronic attempt the motion glider, fail it a little bit, and just decide to instead just play it normally. Unfortunately getting fired right after entering lap 2. This also drops him down to 9th place, and that's really strong here on MKS because that's going to give them access to a lot of much stronger items here from the box.
Yeah, definitely here. That's going to be giving him much better items at this point. I just noticed, is Zoronic, is she playing without the minimap on?
She is not. I think she might have accidentally turned it off.
Oh, maybe in like the whole like smart steering thing and the motion. That could be interesting there. See, the blue shell is going to come out. That does affect Steamy, and Zoronic is going to move up into second briefly, but a lot of VT has found themselves up into top spots, which could be pivotal here because we're still waiting to see if there is going to be a shock left here on MKS.
Yeah, this is definitely around the time you start to see shocks here on MKS, and this is definitely a bit of a scary situation for VT, because if that shock comes out, especially with how many dodges we're seeing from U of M, this is going to be very, very easy for U of M to recover. But it looks like we are seeing a top 4 from Virginia Tech as we go into these final turns of Mario Kart Stadium. It's definitely not looking great for Virginia Tech here.
Yeah, this glider section though is so pivotal. Zoronic, unfortunately, she's not able to pull it off once again, but is able to shroom normally. But you do see a lot of Virginia Tech is going to capitalize here, and that's a top 2, 4, 5, 6. An insane turnaround on MKS after not even picking this track. Like, I know they meant to pick Cheap Cheap Beach or the Cheap Cheap Safari, but MKS, maybe that's going to get added to the Virginia Tech like repertoire. Insane turnaround for them here on race 2.
Yeah, definitely. That was absolutely what Virginia Tech wanted to see on that track. I believe the scoreboard might be a little bit messed up. I believe this should be positive in favor of Virginia Tech. But that is a great result here for Virginia Tech on Mario Kart Stadium. That is absolutely what you want to see if you're hoping or rooting for Virginia Tech. It looks like they're going to be going for Sunshine Airport here off that majority running lineup here, but it looks like we are going to be going to Madrid. Definitely an interesting choice here from U of M. Definitely, I'd say a smart pick here. Madrid is, I feel like, a very versatile track.
Oh yeah, Madrid definitely has a lot of versatility here because you can kind of play this in like pretty much any spot up in the top. You can run this to a certain extent. You can use it as an anti-1 drafter. You can even just use it as a shroom up. There's so many different ways to play Madrid, and it's really popular in CKL as a result. The tour tracks in general have become kind of a staple here in the collegiate community. You're going to see Zoronic as she's able to do a bit of snaking, try and fight her way up into these top spots here, and a few of Michigan is now up into these tops as well, trying to just keep themselves alive. Zoronic unfortunately going to line out at this point, but is still in a solid spot here at the midpoint of this lap 1, but you're going to watch this cut here. This is a pivotal moment where players are either going to take it as a shroomless cut or they're going to shroom up, and a lot of players getting hit out. Fire is insanely powerful in such a tight, narrow section, and now we're just really seeing this pack is still really close overall.
Yeah, it's definitely still a really close pack, but if we're looking at the minimap, we can see a relatively overwhelming majority of U of M here in the front, which is definitely going to be great for them, especially coming off that -24 that they just got on Mario Kart Stadium. But we are only at lap 1, so we'll have to see what happens here in laps 2 and 3. We do see Zoronic here pull the star in triple shrooms, which is definitely a great pull. I know a lot of people would prefer to have these two reverse, but honestly, I feel like having the star out in front is better. But we'll have to see how she drives, how she plays this. She uses the star through the cut, and she is just murdering everyone on Virginia Tech. Oh my goodness, that was an insane start here from Zoronic here. As we go into this glider section, getting hit out right before the glider, I believe that's going to mess with the timing. They might not be able to get this. Yep, they miss the water stream, but they are still able to take the cut here, which is going to save them a lot of time versus these Virginia Tech players in the back who maybe don't have the shrooms or the ability to take that cut. And as we go into lap 3 here, we are still seeing that majority of U of M here in the front. And it's definitely a great spot for them to be in, especially after that MKS.
Yeah, this is really big here for Michigan as they're able to just capitalize on a ton of tough spots. One of Virginia Tech is in Ghost briefly here, and there is a star from Steamy here in 6. I wonder if a late shock is going to be coming into play at this point. Steamy popping that star. Has the Rang, is going to be able to start out Zoronic. grab the double box as well, but it's a lot of Michigan up in this top three. Top 3-5, it looks like, from UM at this point here. And this is going to result in a massive shakeup in the standings if this holds here, as a lot of blue up in these tops. Cool Guy and Steamy still up there for VT, but a lot of people now getting hit out near the end, and that is going to change things up. But overall, looking like still a great top three and even more for Michigan.
Yeah, that was a great race for Michigan. Getting that top 3, and I believe that was 6-7. Definitely a great race here for U of M. They're gonna have a great just plus here, and we do see U of M take the lead in the point race again here, having a 4-point advantage going into race 4, which is definitely going to be great for U of M. But it's still such a close match that we really can't say who's more dominant. We saw really dominant performances from both teams, and I feel like that's just going to be the theme of this match. It's going to be so neck and neck this entire time.
Yeah, and I think tracks are going to have to do a big part of how we look at this overall game plan from both of these teams here. You saw Michigan really capitalize off of Madrid after Virginia Tech getting their own track pick in race 2. And now VT, once again, getting their track pick going into Koopa Cape here. A lot of great shroom up opportunities like we alluded to earlier in this matchup. And I think this could be really big here for VT. Only a 4-point difference as we go into the final race of this first Grand Prix. So it really is just anyone's game here. This opening set is going to pretty much tell everything here. Who's going to be able to pull the shrooms, and then who's going to be able to make that big cut,
yeah, absolutely,
in that river section.
Koopa Cape is such a divisive track here because happening with so few item sets. This really becomes a track of just getting the item you need early and running with it. And we do see here Steamy taking first pretty early on, and that's going to be huge for Virginia Tech, because we are seeing a lot of Virginia Tech in the front, but we do see a lot of U of M also in the mid pack, and that's going to help stop the bleeding, because I believe there is a few Virginia Tech players near the bottom of the standings in this race right now. But we are only in lap 1, so this could change very quickly. And as we finish lap 1, we do see Zoronic in 4th. We do see Vuv from Virginia Tech in 3rd, and I believe Aiden in 2nd. This is going to be a really close, really tight pack already. We're seeing even in the top spots, there's no leeway. They gotta play perfectly to keep on or hold on to this lead.
Yeah, especially because you see quite a few of Michigan does have shrooms to take this cut in this river section. As you see Zoronic demonstrate for us beautifully here, you see that VT still holding on to those top 3s, but it's going to be a lot tighter at this point, especially in this pipe section where it's so narrow. Certain items are going to be so pivotal at this point. Stuff Flatbread is now in 3rd place here, while Zoronic is still in 4th. Now it's 3, 4, 5 here for Michigan. Top 2 still being held.
Yeah, absolutely. This is still any team's race. There's a lot that can go well here. There's a lot that can go wrong here. We do see Zoronic taking the shroom up through the cut here, and that red barely missing them, going for Vuv. And we do see Zoronic also pull the Ghosted 3, which is an insane pull. And then having a shroom and a green in the pocket, really good spot for Zoronic to be here in 3rd. We do see their teammates behind them, so we don't even have to worry about getting hit from behind by like a red shell or something. And as we go into these final turns, it is looking like Virginia Tech's going to have top 2, but U of M is going to have that 3, and it looks like they're going to have a lot of spots behind 3. So this is either going to be a very, very close race, or it's going to be a plus for U of M here. We do see 3 through 6 here for U of M, which is definitely great. I believe that's going to put them either even or at a plus here over Virginia Tech in race 4.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's an even race, it looks like at this point. Yeah, and like this is kind of the way we're going to look at this matchup and from an analytical perspective. Virginia Tech is going to likely get top 2, and Michigan will secure everything from 3 through 6. That's kind of the name of the game here for the Wolverines at this point. They're able to dominate from these mid spots, but now you're going to see a battle from Shell Cup tracks here. We're seeing Cheap Cheap Beach and Moo Moo Meadows coming out now. It's so interesting seeing Virginia Tech utilize Cheap Cheap in these like running spots, but also having some mids because it's traditionally seen as like a drafter nowadays. But it's also, it just goes to show like you play the tracks you're good on, play of what you're comfortable on, because this could be such a big moment here for Virginia Tech. I honestly thought we were going to see a second random as they picked Cheap Cheap Beach, which would have been insane. But the
It would have been
Safari
so
finally
funny.
comes through for Virginia Tech.
We are having that cheap Safari that I know Chad is such a big fan of here. And it's going to be a very interesting race here. We do see that top 2 from Virginia Tech, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play around U of M being, almost every spot behind this top 2.
Yeah, it's so pivotal at this point here. 3 through 6 can easily draft up on top 2, and it looks like Steamy actually gets bumped into the wall, maybe falling down into 4th place at this time. But you see Buff still holding on to tops. Immediate red shell onto Zeronic now as Steamy is able to keep on this spot, but not going to be able to pull a box here. Is able to just navigate this pack beautifully, just being with some solid driving. They're still holding on to 1-4 here. Vub is like in a really scary situation though, because Ryan with that green is going to be able to sneak up in the first, and top 2 suddenly going into Michigan favor now. Double reds in play from Steamy here, and this pack suddenly still really close overall, but it looks like Michigan has a slight advantage here early on in lap 2.
Yeah, this is a really rough spot for Steamy to be in here, especially Steamy starting in top 2. They don't have any coins to start with. So even though they didn't get hit at all, they still only have a few coins. So Ronick was able to tank a hit and still have a couple coins here, effectively matching Steamy's coin count. And coins are just so important in this game that, not having a lot of coins. Oh my goodness, Steamy getting bombed here. All the coins that they just gained. Oh my goodness, getting hit with the green. Steamy here just getting absolutely annihilated by U of M and falling all the way down to last. That is a rough spot for Steamy to be in. Starting in first, like I said, you don't start with any coins. So now all of a sudden being in last, having to get those coins, get those, those really good bagging items to make a comeback becomes so much more difficult just off that coin count. We do see Zeronic also on 0 coins here near the bottom, but we also do see an overwhelming U of M presence in the front. And we all know indivs don't matter. What matters is your ending result. So even being in 7th here is just super strong.
Oh yeah, and you really do want to see if they're able to capitalize and get some even more spots here on the Safari. And now Zeronic with those triple greens in pockets has to navigate this pack a little more carefully at this point. But having some strong defense will be pivotal here. Steamy making their way up into 5th place now. Rang in play from Momi now in 4. Triple greens not coming out. Potential snipe opportunities. It is going to take out Steamy here. And that is so unfortunate for them because the Wolverines looks like they secured a top 2, 4, 5, 6, 8. That's a bottom 4 for Virginia Tech here on their own Safari, and a massive statement here for the Wolverines.
Yeah, that was a very, very important race here for the Wolverines. Now being up to plus 34, they have a little bit of a buffer here. So this is definitely a great spot for them to be in. Getting ahead early on and being able to hold on to that lead is so important, but also having that buffer in case they have a race that doesn't go well is also just as important. So that was an insane race here from U of M, but I do want to mention that play from Zeronic there. They shroomed through that small cut and had the triple greens out, and they used that, and they hit Steamy and just took them from a pretty good spot all the way down to 10th. It's rough for Steamy, but it's an amazing play from Zeronic here. And we do see Virginia Tech looking to pick Mushroom Gorge here, maybe utilize some of those bottom spots, on a fairly luck-based bagging track here, whereas U of M is looking to pick Water Park, which is definitely a very strong runner.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see what track it's like because they're so different. They're very polarizing in their own aspects here. We are going to Mushroom Gorge, traditional reset in that sense. Nothing really matters on each lap until we get to the infamous gap jump. There's multiple opportunities for players to get ahead early on though, thanks to the multitude of super bounces, and it's actually really strong here as well. There is a inside drifting bike on the side of Michigan here, and you know that Virginia Tech is one of the more like tech heavy teams in terms of Division 5. So you can tell this is a group that's very comfortable on tracks like Gorge, where there are multiple cuts you can maximize on, as well as opportunities like the super bounce, which you see Steamy get a nice one in, especially off of the draft. Going to go wide here for those extra coins, and this is going to be pivotal for them because now they have triple greens in the pocket, rolling them out in a beautiful spot. able to take out a couple players as well, and is now suddenly right in the pack here. But this first gap jump is going to tell a lot here, as you're not going to see anyone really take it except for maybe Stuffed Flatbread, and now going to see quite a change up in the spot so far.
Yeah, and a great play from Steamy here, using that triple green in the start of the tunnel there to just take out a lot of U of M. You know, put them in bottom spots, which is great for them because now they can get up into that top spot, but it's also a little bit scary given that this is such a strong bagging track. You know, getting into those bottom spots here, we can now see Zoronic able to smuggle triple shrooms up into first. But a slight miscalculation on that super bounce, but still managing to hit it okay. Getting almost bumped. Oh my goodness. An amazing recovery from Zoronic there. Opting to not go for the gap cut, which makes sense. That was a little bit of an awkward approach for it. Vuv able to take first off that super bounce, but we do see U of M having 2-3 going into 1-4 as SFB takes lead. Zoronic falling behind a little bit. Steamy here back in third with only a coin in hand, getting into first. Looking to chain their coin into this set here, having 10 coins.
Blue shell.
Definitely a great spot from the beginning. Blue shell is up though, so Steamy will have to drop quickly if they want to not get hit. So Ronic right behind this blue shell. We do see Steamy, I believe, dodging? I'm not sure what happened there. We didn't see it. And Zoronic just getting absolutely murdered on these mushrooms. Pulling a red in third, unable to take the gap cut. Looking to maybe take out Steamy, maybe sneak by and steal their spot, and almost getting redded on the line again. Shot coming out, but I believe it's too little too late. We do see a 1-4-5 from U of M. I believe this is going to be a positive for Virginia Tech, able to kind of claw their way back from that -34 that they have right now.
Yeah, that's pivotal for them if they're able to add on any extra points just to cut into the lead here, because like 34 points still very doable, and you can literally do this in one race here if you want to with Virginia Tech, but you don't want to put yourself in that position to have to make a big comeback in one race. They're going DK Mountain here in this 2-3 and like mostly mid spot situation, which I really do like here for Virginia Tech. And then you see Sunshine Airport, the track of choice here from Michigan. Both these picks here make a lot of sense for both these teams and what they're trying to accomplish. And it's still very close overall. 34 points is nothing really in the grand scheme of things going into like the second half of this. So it really could still be anyone's game here. Virginia Tech, I wouldn't be surprised, especially here on DK Mountain, where you see a lot of big races still happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see if VT just turns this around and pulls out a massive race here.
Yeah, this is definitely looking to be great for VT here. I believe the inward player is on the side of U of M. So having DKM, which is famously an anti-inward track, is definitely going to be interesting because that is almost turning this into a 6v5. And it's definitely still doable on an inward bike, but it becomes a lot more difficult to hit really crucial shortcuts like the gap cut.
Yeah, and it's going to be pivotal to see how does they play around that, knowing that this is traditionally not amazing for inside drift. You do see some players be really good on this, notably our stream hosts themselves are just really good on this track. But meanwhile, you see that Zoronic now has a bomb here in first place. A lot of big spots you can drop this off here, but it looks like a lot of Michigan has found themselves into these top spots. That's really strong for them overall. It's kind of close now. You see that there's a trail now in place. Zoronic having to navigate this closely and now not able to take that cut in as nicely as they wanted. Steamy now has the Rang in play, gets trailed out, unfortunately has to burn the Shroom just to recover here, but they do have a Rang, firing it back at moment. It looks like it does connect, having 2 more shots as well here on lap 2, but watch as this cannon makes a lot of distance here. You might see Shock in play in very few moments.
Yeah, definitely. That item set being a little bit broken because of that cannon, you know, giving first place a lot of distance off a lot of the lower spots, even like being in 5th, it's possible to pull things like the Star of the Bullet, which usually doesn't happen because of distance-based items. But we'll have to see. You know, we could see Shock right now. Someone in the bottom could have Shock waiting for their team to get dodges. And as we go into the gap cut here on lap 2, we do see Virginia Tech having first, but I believe we saw a UM 2-3. We do see that Shock come into play. We see 3 bullets in play. Yeah. So we do see SFB, though, in first with Zoronic in third. So we'll have to see which team get dodged. And I believe it was a U of M Shock. Zoronic unfortunately getting squashed, but not losing too many spots here. Although there is still a majority, I believe, bottom presence of U of M. So it's definitely a little scary going into lap 3. Steamy having the horn, able to destroy a blue shell that might come their way here, being really strong here, especially on this lap 3. You know, with Shock just happening at the end of lap 2, there's blue up. Yep, like we said. And with Shock already happening, basically right before this, there's almost no chance of seeing a shock in this final lap, or if we see one, it's going to be so incredibly late. So this blue shell, being able to break out that horn effectively means there's nothing that can really disrupt the first place run right now.
Oh yeah, especially pivotal here. Steamy barely making it over, but does have the bomb in first. Stuff flatbread in second. The bomb on the bridge is gonna be thrown upwards. Actually, Steamy barely avoiding their own bomb. It doesn't look like, I don't think that connected onto anyone in Michigan. There's the second shock late, as you mentioned it, because of the 30-second roll. But now it's a matter of seeing who's gonna be fighting for those like back and mid spots here. Because VT does get first. I think Michigan got second. 1, 3, 4, 6, 8 is big though for Virginia Tech, as they are making their way up and trying to claw their way back into this matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely a really good race here for Virginia Tech, looking to, maybe close that score gap a little bit. It's now only plus 22 for U of M. This is becoming more and more doable, every single race for Virginia Tech. They are clawing their way back into the lead here, and we'll have to see what happens. We do see a Boo Lake pick from, I believe, from Virginia Tech, and I believe we're seeing Piranha Plant, or not Piranha Plant Clove. I cannot this track name. Oh my goodness. But we are seeing a very strong runner here being picked from U of M.
Yeah, it's so interesting seeing these track picks here. Two tracks with a lot of water in them, notoriously. Cove especially, big race here potential for Michigan, I believe, has picked that track. So definitely something you could see here, because you can kind of play that in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of notable cuts on Cove, as has been alluded to multiple times. You see a lot of teams bring this out here because they just feel really comfortable on it. It's one of those like skill check tracks in a sense, because there are so many ways you can optimize your driving here, especially with the navigating, the shortcuts, but just the water physics as a whole. If you're able to just be better here, just drive, have a better knowledge, a better game plan, you're really able to capitalize here. And this is something I think the Wolverines are going to really thrive on here. Something where their entire team play just really will shine, and there's definitely ways they can stay alive here. Steamy immediately trailing just to make sure that no one from Michigan hits them out early, and it's actually going to get side greened in the
Goodness.
process, regardless of the trail. Unfortunate start for them was they fall all the way to 11th and have to go for coins.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate spot here for Steamy, but we do see Zoronic here bringing back that third, but we do see a Virginia Tech top 2, which is definitely going to be a little rough. We do see Cool Guy looking to maybe back that bomb onto Zoronic, barely missing it. Zoronic able to take second here, and as we go into the second main shortcut here, Zoronic, oh my goodness, taking it perfectly, making her way into first with a banana and a shroom in pocket. This is putting Zoronic in a very good spot to keep and maybe even just strengthen U of M's lead here in this war so far. But we'll have to see how laps 2 and 3 play it. We do see Steamy back in 12th. Unfortunately, seeming to struggle a little bit after that green shell hit. But it is only the end of lap 1. We'll have to see what happens in lap 2 and 3, like I mentioned. Steamy pulling the bullet here is so strong, especially if another member of Virginia Tech manages to pull shock. But I believe Steamy's the only one in a spot able to really pull shock. I mean, the only one really in the bottom here. We do see a large U of M presence in the back. So we'll have to see how this goes. That shroom getting stolen from Zoronic is definitely rough. If there is a blue shell, they have no way of defending against it. But we do see second place holding onto a shroom. So if Zoronic's able to see that blue shell on the map and react to it fast enough, this could force Virginia Tech to blow that shroom on the blue shell.
Yeah, potential for that is pretty massive at this point. Steamy fighting his way up into 8th place now. No items though, as you see triple reds from SFB Stuff Flatbread. Steamy going to get hit out at this point. It does look like that. I think that Zoronic still holding on to top spots over in the mini map, but you see a lot of Virginia Tech still in that 2-3. Steamy's going to have an opportunity at this item set to maybe clutch up a powerful item here, because it does look like that VT is in roughly 3 up bottom 4. Bub has taken over first place now, trailing Owen on that green here, and it looks like they are going to be able to clutch that first. Zoronic in second, and it does look like a few more in Michigan in that 3, 4, maybe even 5 spots, and this could be pivotal for them, because despite losing first, if you're able to capitalize on a lot of those mids, that could be pivotal here. Still be a good positive, because 2 through 5 is pretty solid here for Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting first doesn't guarantee that you won't still lose that race. Even if you get first, the other team could still get a plus 22 if they get everything behind it. So U of M getting, what was that? 2 through 5 is still super, super strong here for U of M. And we do see them strengthen their lead a little bit, going back to a plus 30. This is still very close as we go into the final Grand Prix, the last 4 races. a plus 30 or a minus 30, if you're looking at this from Virginia Tech side, really isn't that much. That can be gained back in one race or two really solid races.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's still time. We have one more Grand Prix here if you are Virginia Tech. And I really like the Maple Treeway selection here from VT. Definitely a track where you can kind of run if you are in tops. But those middle spots, those like back half as well, able to draft up, able to get like better items in a sense, and they have more coins, and that's so pivotal, especially after the cannon on Maple Treeway. We are going there, BMT, to see what Virginia Tech is going to be able to pull off here. They don't need a home run just yet, but even if they're able to get like a decent positive, it's going to make the comeback a lot easier for them and keep their season alive at this point.
Yeah, Maple Treeway is definitely a great pick here for Virginia Tech, and especially with having a lot of those bottom spots, they're going to get a lot of really strong items to kind of disrupt U of M's play here. And especially with Maple Treeway having a lot of really narrow passageways and a lot of really narrow straightaways where there's no railings, nothing to really stop you from falling off the edge. You know, a single well-used shell can really disrupt someone's race, and you put them so far behind that it becomes almost impossible to recover, especially like this tree section. He's running getting hit, almost falling off just off the slight movement you get after getting hit. So with that, now they're already down to 10th, and we do see a pretty strong Virginia Tech showing here in the front. We do see a 1-3, I believe a 4 as well from Virginia Tech. Steamy looking to maybe get a draft here on whoever's in second here on U of M side. Getting that top 2 is going to be so important for Virginia Tech. We see that red shell go out, take out almost, oh no, Valve does have a trail to protect themselves. We do see Virginia Tech still fighting for that second spot, and as we go into lap 2, having that trim to be able to take that cut is going to be huge here for Steamy. Can help them secure that second place spot, maybe even go into first here, as if they take this turn tight enough, and they do now have a Shroom in first, which is probably the best spot that Virginia Tech can have right now, because now they can defend themselves against the blue shell like we mentioned earlier, but we do see a lot of U of M right behind top 2. It's definitely still far from just taken by Virginia Tech.
Oh yeah, and it's so pivotal at this point to mention that despite the fact that VT does have a top 2, there's a lot. This track is a lot. There's so long, so many things can happen here. Shock is prevalent, and blue shells as well. But we haven't seen either make an appearance yet on this race. But you know for a fact that that's going to be an option here. It does look like the horn was pulled out, but now you see that on the mini-map, top 3 it looks like from Virginia Tech. Zeron is still holding on to this bill, never mind, popping it now, trying to see if they're going to be able to get some other spots. You're only securing a red shell at this point, but now a lot of the mid spots have gone in the way of Michigan. An unfortunate plant there. 4, 5, 6 still being held for the most part from Michigan, but BT, a top 3 would do wonders for them here.
Absolutely. A top 3 is going to do a lot for the score lead here. They're going to be able to close that gap and close it by a pretty significant margin if they're able to get top 3 here. So as we go into the final moments of this race, Steamy having a little bit of a line fail, but it's not going to matter too much. Still able to maintain first and have a lot of their teammates to behind them. So even if they were to get past, they wouldn't effectively lose any spots. We do see Zoronic here in 6th with the triple greens. Really in a rough spot with this such a narrow straightaway. It's so easy to accidentally trail your teammates. The Bill hitting them out, but now they have a Shroom out in 9. Definitely not a great spot for Zoronic. We do see, I believe, a top 3 from Virginia Tech here.
Yeah, top 3 is going to be in positive at minimum here. Now, the question is, how many spots did VT get behind? Oh, top 2, 5, actually. And then 7, 10, 12. Not as big of a positive as we were expecting from VT, but still a nice way to change up the momentum, and especially with these last 3 races, anything still is possible at this point here. Another +8. We're back to +22 now, and it's still very doable. 3 races left. Definitely a lot of time here for the Hokies to make a comeback. Meanwhile, the Wolverines just got to hold it down at this point.
Yeah, a +22 is very little here going into the last 3 races. Still a very neck and neck set here. You know, U of M playing phenomenally this entire time. But Virginia Tech able to really hold on to that top 2 almost this entire war. We haven't really seen a lot of moments where Virginia Tech hasn't had those top spots. But I think the depth on U of M is really doing a lot for them here, as they're able to hold on to a lot of those mid spots that is giving them a lot of these really close and sometimes even positive races, even when Virginia Tech gets that top 2.
Yeah, and the depth of Michigan has always been like their strongest point in this really with this team. It's what's defined them pretty much this entire season. Yes, it didn't always result in the best performances in the regular season, but it doesn't matter when you're in a playoff setting because Michigan is not a team you want to be seeing at any point here. They have the mid-pack spots. They're going to be able to maybe pull mushrooms early on here. Zeronic does that indeed, and is going to be able to take this library cut, uses the library card, able to go up into second place here, and now able to get double as well, because now Michigan has suddenly found themselves in a top 2 situation early on, and BT here on Twisted Mansion it looks like they're in like a lot of bottoms early on, but you know that this track very strong for Shock, and definitely still a lot of comeback opportunities here for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, this is only lap 1. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities on Twisted Mansion. This is far from over. Even though U of M has this top 2, it would not surprise me if within the next, 10, 20 seconds, we see an overwhelming Virginia Tech top 2 or even top 3. I can see that happening. You see the blue shell hit Zeronic here on the left path. I believe Virginia Tech maybe noticing that Zeronic took the left path, opting to choose the right path. We do see Virginia Tech back in top 2 here, but we do see a lot of U of M right behind them as well. This is definitely far from taken by Virginia Tech. We do see that Truman first, though, which, like we've mentioned multiple times before, is really strong when the blue comes out. We do see Zeronic hitting out someone from Virginia Tech, going into 5th, having that red shell in hand, going for, I believe, the Bushel Glider trick. Not with Bushel Glider, though. Getting shocked. Still managing to make the top half, which is the faster half here. But they're going to be small for a little bit longer than probably they'd like to.
What is
the
blue?
Blue shell come out after the shock, hitting Steamy out. Zeronic wisely choosing to go for the right path, seeing Steamy going for the left path here. Now in first with a red shell is going to be a great spot to be in, but with this shroom cut right here, it's very common for them to lose that spot. They do lose it to their teammate though, so ultimately not a loss here for U of M as they go into lap 3.
Yeah, this is big for U of M. You know, there's the bomb in second place as well. Stevie now in 5th place, trying to navigate what's going to be a tight section here. A lot of Michigan is in those top spots. Looks like a top 4 potentially here at this point. Steamy needs something big here. It's going to have 2 shrooms. Going to be able to cut up, but we'll have to watch for some Michigan item play shenanigans at this point. It's going to be able to sneak up using this grass cut, but gets ghosted in that cut. That could have been a massive steal here for Steamy, but instead going to settle for 5th place, and I think that might have been a Michigan top 4. Yeah, top 4, 6, 9 for Michigan. Another massive statement for the Wolverines.
That was an insane race here for U of M Wolverines. That is exactly what you want to see if you're rooting for U of M. That ghost steal in the middle of the cut on Steamy's end. That is so just awful for Virginia Tech here. That was going to be a very easy, way to break up that top 4 that U of M had. And unfortunately, having that trim get stolen from them at the last second means that they fall down to 5th, and there's really not a whole lot you can do at that point. And now we do see U of M opting to pick Water Park again, and Virginia Tech choosing Bone Dry Dunes. Definitely going to be a very interesting track pick here from both sides. I'm very interested to see how U of M plays Water Park here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see if it does go Water Park, just because it's one of my best runs. We're going to another random, but it's going to Wild Woods, and this is actually really in favor of Michigan now. A very strong runner here now, and this could seal the deal for Michigan. They're up 54. As long as they don't lose by 14 or by 14, there's no way that Virginia Tech can even tie. Minus 16 is needed at this point for Virginia Tech to even have a chance to win in race 12. Michigan just needs to hold it down, and they can secure their spot here in D5 finals with another upset victory. Time will tell if that's going to happen here, as Steamy looks to have something to say about that. It's going to be able to take this double box, try and secure anything, is able to get that coin in the shroom now. But now it's just, you got to figure out a way to get rid of these Michigan tops early on.
Yeah, definitely looking to get rid of these Michigan tops if you are rooting for Virginia Tech here. But Steamy looking to break up that top presence that U of M has here with almost everything except for blue here, I believe. Definitely a very strong start for U of M, but this also means that Virginia Tech is going to have a lot of those really strong comeback items that you can get when you're in those lower spots. We're going to probably see a lot of triple shells, a lot of stars, a lot of bullets, maybe even a shock here. Wild Woods is a track that is a bit long. You do tend to see shock here on Wild Woods, I believe, or at least when I've played it, that's my experience with it. So it's very interesting to see. We do see Vub and Steamy here get back into the top 2, which is definitely really good here for Virginia Tech. We do see Zeronic getting hit out, almost falling off from that hit. Falling off, oh my goodness, trying to hit the banister line, but unfortunately falling off the track, falling back down to 10th. We are seeing some bottom spots here from U of M. We do see that top 2 from Virginia Tech. This could be in favor of Virginia Tech here as we go into lap 3. We definitely need to see some great driving here from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if there's going to be other big item plays as well. You're going to need more than just the top 2 if you are Virginia Tech. If you want to secure the deal here, you really need to force those Michigan bottoms now and make something happen. It does look like Michigan is in like a bottom 3, bottom 4 situation, which is pivotal now for Virginia Tech. Steamy holding on to these items there. Zeronic now does have the ghost behind these shrooms. Not sure if a late shock is going to be in play at this point because now it's a top 2-4 situation here for Virginia Tech. Ghost does come out now. You're going to be seeing that Zeronic does have a golden as well as a bomb. It's looking close now. Potato's going to have a bill, which is actually going to steal an extra spot, I think, as well. So this is going to be close maybe here to see, did they pull it off? Top 2, 4, 6, 7, 10. That's going to be close. I think they might have actually been able to extend this to like a deciding game here.
I believe the scoreboard is incorrect right now. I believe that was a plus for Virginia Tech here. Bot is unfortunately incorrect here. So that's going to be a little bit... We're going to have to see what the score difference is when the bot gets fixed. We'll have to see what happened here. But I do believe Virginia Tech is still in this going into this final race. This is going to be everything for both teams here. U of M looking to take down the giant, the super team that was Virginia Tech, looking to be their kryptonite. Virginia Tech looking to hold onto their spot in the playoffs, looking to maybe go into those finals.
Yeah, from word from chat is that it's a plus 32 here for Michigan at this point. So they're going to Amsterdam. They've been picking this track like a few times in this war. So it's definitely a track they're very comfortable on here. We talked about how Virginia Tech needed a big race in the last race. Now they really need a big race here. You're going to be seeing like almost full front running at times, maybe desperate need for shock, but like you can't have too many back presence here. You need a very strong race if you are Virginia Tech, if you want to keep this season alive. I've seen crazy things happen here on CKL Primetime, especially in the playoffs, but this would need to be like a very magical moment here for BT to keep this season alive.
Yeah, this is definitely a do-or-die moment here for Virginia Tech. You know, this team went undefeated in the regular season now, and it looks like they're going to be taken out. We do see, oh my goodness, a slight line fail here from Zeronic, giving Virginia Tech a little bit of hope here as they go into Amsterdam. You know, halfway through lap 1, we are seeing, I believe, a lot of Virginia Tech in top spots, but U of M holding on to that first place is going to do a lot. And we do see Steamy get head out, falling down to 7th from 2nd, going down to actually 8th. As we go into lap 2, we do see an overwhelming U of M front presence here in Amsterdam in lap 2. And this is definitely a rough spot for Virginia Tech to be in.
Oh, it's even rougher because Michigan is the group that has shock here as well, hidden behind the golden, so you're not going to see it come out right away. Zeronic not popping this golden yet at any point, so shock will be delayed for at this point. I don't know if Potato is going to be having it at this point either here with that star, but you're going to need something now if you are Virginia Tech going into this lap 3. Do or die now. Michigan has a chance to just seal the deal.
Yeah, and it looks like Zeronic is looking to burn their golden here so they can pull shock out here. Getting its attempt. They do have shock out. This could be pivotal for both teams here. We do see the blue shell come out here, and it looks like they're going to dodge the...
Cancels it.
Oh my goodness, Virginia Tech shocked. That wasn't Zeronic. Oh my goodness. Unless U of M had both shocks, that is absolutely huge for Virginia Tech. We do see the U of M top 2 still, I believe, as we go into the final moments of this game 2. But I believe U of M is going to take it home, and it looks like AJ got first. Or no, AJ got second, but I believe U of M also got first, and that is going to seal the deal here. It is a top 2 from UM that is going to seal the deal. U of M is going to dethrone Virginia Tech, take away their undefeated streak, beating them twice to move on in the playoffs.
Yeah, the slipper still fits here for the AAA Wolverines. The underdog in their round 1 matchup, the underdog here in semifinals, doesn't matter. Here they are, going their way into Division 5 finals to face Georgia Tech for a chance at the banner. And this was such an insane matchup here. Like, Virginia Tech, yes, the favorite pretty much. Once we saw like the playoff bracket, it was big. A lot of the odds were in favor of Virginia Tech to finally win it all. But then the Wolverines, like this is a team we keep talking about it, but that depth is just so scary here, and really is such a dangerous thing to face for any team here in this division, where you have not only have to worry about like one player, two players, you really have to worry about like 4 or 5 players on Michigan's side. They really do have a shot to win it all, and like good job to them because this was an insane showing.
Yeah, this was an absolutely well played match from both teams as well. U of M playing amazingly, able to take away that undefeated streak from Virginia Tech, but this was still a very close match. This was only a 46
Yes.
point difference here in game two. Overall, over 2 games, it was only a 120-point difference, which is still really, really close in the grand scheme of things. Absolutely well played from both teams, but like you said, that depth really being the kryptonite for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech having those star players, having a really strong roster all around, but unfortunately just not having the same amount of depth that U of M has, really, really giving U of M the advantage here in this playoff match.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what this means for the Wolverines. They go up against Georgia Tech, who in a way is actually similarly structured to Virginia Tech, where they have like two players who kind of lead the way and they have some solid depth as well, but not necessarily the depth that Michigan has. And that's such a important component of this really of this league. It's really been a defining component now where like depth wins. You see teams they can lose top two on a regular basis, but they secure 3 through 6. And that's kind of what you saw Michigan do a lot, where they're able to either just secure those mid spots or they use the mid spots to completely eliminate the enemy tops. And just amazing team play overall from Michigan and like great showing still from Virginia Tech. Great like storybook season in terms of having like that undefeated regular season, not facing so many close calls and still pulling through 9-0 in the regular season is by no means an easy feat. Not the result they wanted, I'm very aware of that, but still great showing from that side and overall amazing showing from both these teams.
Yeah, absolutely well played from both teams. U of M playing amazingly here. Virginia Tech also playing really, really well. I can't really say that this was a hard match to watch. This was really, really fun to watch. Watching it go back and forth all the way until the end was just something amazing to see here.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna see if there's anyone on Michigan interested in an interview, but like amazing to see like overall from this side. Like it's not easy to be a team that not only have to play the quarterfinals, but also go up against a team like Virginia Tech, a very seasoned team. That team's been around since the beginning of CKL and has had some like insane players lead the way this entire time. It's been like it goes to show just how talented that group is. I've been saying that Michigan too has been underrated for like multiple seasons now because like that's a group just has a lot of consistency. You saw the depth come out. You saw just different ways that different players will step up, whether it be like holding shock, getting shock, or just like using the great team play to hit out the enemies. And even to the ways they've been able to navigate those really strong track picks, even not getting their own tracks for sometimes. Just amazing showing on their side in like incredible overall. I'm excited to see what D5 Finals has to offer, and especially with like I think we're gonna have like every finals being casted on CKL this season, with the exception of D3, which already happened and was unfortunately unable to be streamed. But it's awesome the fact that we're going to be seeing so many finals, and the fact that we get Michigan, Georgia Tech for D5 should be a great matchup.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this team plays against Georgia Tech when the finals happens, because this was just an absolute, I feel like a masterclass really being put on by U of M, showing how well that depth can play, especially against really strong teams like Virginia Tech who have those super strong scores, people able to drop 120, 130 here in CKL. Just having that depth able to just completely counter them.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like having a depth to counter tops is just insane at this point. It looks like Jake is going to be able to go for an interview. I'm going to drag Jake into call right now. Hello, Jake. Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Well, first of all, congratulations punching your ticket into Division 5 finals. Initial reactions, how are you feeling?
Really just excited. I mean, like, I feel like, obviously being the 5 seed going up against a 1 seed is, like, tough, but I do feel like we were doubted, like, a little more than we should have been, so but really, like, at this point, like, it doesn't really matter. We're just excited to be here.
Oh, for sure, definitely. Now, like, walk me through like this game in particular, like just how you guys were pulling through, like especially near the end, because it was close up until for like, especially like up until like that last GP, it was really close overall. Like, walk me through like your mindset, just how you guys were playing it, like this entire war.
Yeah, I think we started out and it was like really really even. We had that really bad race on MKS and then came back on BMG. We've always had like good races on Madrid, so it was nice to have that. And hopefully Georgia Tech wasn't watching, but you know they probably were. And then I think really like Cheap Cheap Beach was a huge turning point for us. We've been TTing it. We knew that they'd pick it. We just didn't expect a result like that we got like what we got on Cheap Cheap Beach. So from there it was like, hey, you can pick any of your good tracks, because like there's probably we're pushing for a sweep and not playing a game three. And then like it got a little close there. We had that rough one on Wildwoods, and we just have like we were pretty lucky like to get Twisted Mansion as a track pick, and especially too like at the very end, like everything just went wrong at the end of Twisted Mansion for Virginia Tech. Like I saw Steamy was really unlucky just to get like ghosted. Like I spammed Ghost for that specific purpose, but like when there's 5 racers with items, like that's still an insane thing to have happen. So I like, you know, we'll take the luck where we can get it, and like that really just like kind of cemented it for us. And like obviously there's still 2 races left to play, and Wildwoods showed us that we weren't out of the clear just yet, but
Yeah, that's crazy. Hearing
definitely
that you were the one with
pretty
the shot,
intense.
that's also insane.
Sorry, what?
Hearing that you were the one with the ghost was insane. Like at the end of
Yeah,
Twisted
yeah.
Mansion.
The shock was one of the Virginia Tech players pretty much after everyone had already passed. But the ghost, sometimes it just works out in your favor like that. It's like we were destined to win or something silly like that.
That's insane. You guys have had an insane run so far. How are you feeling for finals?
Pretty good. I think Georgia Tech is the one like good match we came out of in the regular season. So we beat Florida, and Georgia Tech, and all the other playoff teams we had losses to. So feel like we know this Georgia Tech team, and we're pretty familiar with Hawk and Abriel. So especially me, Ryan, and Dusk, we did the NRC 4v4. So we feel like we know this team pretty well. But like it's not going to be easy. I mean, they didn't fluke their way into finals. You know, it was a tough fought battle where they had 2-2-1 series. But just because we went 2-0 in our 2 series and they went 2-1 in their series does not mean it won't be a close competition.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Amy, that's all the questions I have for Stuffed Flatbread. Do you have anything?
Honestly, I'm struggling to find words for what to ask here. I mean, this was just a great
So
match to
real.
watch. It's kind of hard to think of like what to ask, besides what we've already asked. Going into that Georgia Tech match is going to be really interesting to watch, and I'm hoping it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're hoping to get back on prime time, show the fans if we have any. I don't think we really do, but it's fun to think about, and we'll try and. It looks like it might be a quick turnaround, just depending on what Georgia Tech's schedule looks like. We may be here next Sunday, or as early as playing the next matches over the next couple of days. But I think we're excited to play. We're excited to be in finals. It's really really a privilege, and we won't take that for granted. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. You guys earned it, though. You guys have had an insane run. Definitely excited to see what you guys do. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to shout out? Any quick words you have before you leave?
Allegedly, there's 100 million people that I know in the CKL chat. So I'll shout out my uncle Mark, who for some reason decides to show up at every match for no reason. Obviously, my close family, my roommate is in the chat. I got a friend from London who actually decided to hop in for no reason. So I figure like, what are we doing if we're not giving them a shout out?
Oh yeah, always got to shout out the family. It's always great having them come in, especially people coming in from like different countries. People coming in from London, that's awesome. Very happy to hear it. Congrats once again to you and the rest of the Wolverines.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for casting. Like I feel like you guys aren't really getting enough recognition. Like I understand it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's really cool to be able to watch back those matches and just to know that there are people out there watching. And two, when you guys like put out the ping, like there's people that we don't know that are watching, and that's so cool.
Hey,
Always a
appreciate
treat.
it. Okay, we'll let you go, Stuff Flatbread. Once again, thank you for hopping on. Congrats once again as well for punching your ticket in the D5 finals, and good luck for whenever that does happen.
Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for the interview, and have a good one.
Yep, you too. Okay, Amy, any quick words before we wrap up the stream for tonight?
No, I think that just about does it for us. So, thank you guys everyone for watching, and we will see you whenever the next prime
Oh
time
yeah,
is.
looking like at the upcoming schedule, not confirmed on anything yet, but it does look like D6 finals tomorrow, D7 finals on Saturday, and let's just say we have a surprise on Sunday for D2 and D4 finals. Definitely a lot of CKL action coming up this week, so you want to stay tuned. Definitely have those notifications on because you want to be tuned in for all of the finals coming up your way. But until then, have a good night, everyone.